Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my October wrap-up. This is because I'm putting off making a November TBR because I don't think I'm going to be making one. So I don't know. I don't know yet. Look out for that. Maybe. I don't know. I actually read a lot of books this month, even though I was like in a weird random book funk where like half the time I was in a reading slump, half the time I was like voraciously reading, but there's definitely some books in here that I really liked. There's some books in here that I really hated. So we got kind of like the whole spectrum going on here, but I don't think I actually DNF'd any books, which is weird. Normally there's like one, but I don't think I did. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started today in this wrap up. I've decided we're just gonna go in order that I read it this month because that's like easiest for me to process right now. So to start off with, it's funny because normally I start the video with manga and normally it's just to like get it out of the way because so I can talk about books the rest of the time, but like I actually did read them first. So I read volumes, I'm only holding up one because I read a ton. I read volumes 6 through 13, which is the whole rest of the series of Ao Haru Ride. In the English version is like Blue Spring Ride. And these are just fantastic, cute, quick mangas. It is a romance story between a girl who met a boy in middle school in like the first book, and he leaves for some unknown reason. They had a crush on each other and it kind of left unresolved feelings. And then he shows up suddenly back at high school with her, and it's about their stories of friendship, they're falling back in love, etc. It is just such a cute book. All of these volumes got 5. I think one got like a 4 because I got annoyed at the storyline, but the rest got 5. They're really good. I really enjoy them. I highly recommend if you're looking for a cute, easy beginner manga to read. The next one that I read was actually my most anticipated book for literally the entire year, and it was kind of a letdown. Like, it was still a 4. It was still a 4, and I think probably the best book that I read this month, but it was a letdown compared to how I like the rest of the series, and that is the Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. I adore this series. I still really liked a lot of what this book did, but there were some things I would definitely change. Like, I know it's supposed to be a more serious, dark book, but she almost went a little too dark because the first 2 books are dark, but they're comedic. They're funny. This book almost felt like it was trying too hard to be funny, and just the comedic part just really wasn't there in this book, which is what made me love the first 2. The balance of the dark and the funny was so good, and it took the book up to like such a good level, and this one just didn't have that for me. So unfortunately this only gets a 4. Still gets a 4. Like, it's still really good, and the ending was fantastic of this. This had such a good ending, and it was so good for the whole story. If you don't know what this series is, this is the 3rd book in the A Deadly Education. I think the series is called The Scholomance, but the first book in the series is A Deadly Education. I feel like most people have probably heard about that. It's a fantastic book that follows our main character, Elle, and she basically gets sent off to this school called The Scholomance, which lives out in like the ether, and it has small tethers to the world, and they're stuck there for 4 years, and the entire time they're there, they're fighting off these things called maleficaria, which are bad things, and they're trying not to die and make it to graduation, but graduation's also terrible because all the bad things are in the graduation hall trying to kill them. So that's pretty much what the story is about. It's very magical. It's a very different magic system. So if you want something pretty unique, I would definitely recommend this. Her writing is a bit dense and almost stream of consciousness at some point, which can be difficult to get into, but trust me, the book is so worth it for like what's going on in it. The next book that I read this month was also one of my most anticipated books. It is Runtime, and unfortunately this book got a 2, which is so sad because this is like one of my favorite covers. I love this cover. But this is following our main character, Adele, who is kind of running away from her past. She used to be a TV star, a soap star, and was in a big movie, but then she kind of faded away because something happened on set that scared her away, and she ended up moving from Ireland to LA to try and kind of disappear, but also still, you know, work in the movie business. And she gets a lucky break and is called to join the set of a thriller movie, and unfortunately for her, it turns out that the script is pretty similar to what's happening in real life. Now, this sounds like it would be really good, but it was not. I actually have a full review about why I really didn't like this book up, so go check that out for details, but it just felt like a lie to me. It never felt like we were on a movie set. It never felt like we were like in danger. It didn't even feel like a thriller really. I was just so bored for most of this book that I just, I really, really, really didn't like this book. It gives me bad vibes looking at it. And honestly, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, does it deserve a 1.5? Does it deserve a 1? Like, is 2 too generous? I don't know. I'm gonna keep it at a 2 because that's how I was feeling at the time. But yeah, really, really not a fan of this book. The next book that I read was, you know, just for like funsies, and it's part of the series that I keep reading, but it is Prom House by Chelsea Mueller, and this is part of like the Underline series. So there's like a publishing, I don't know if it's a company or just like an imprint, but Underline publishes a ton of these like super short thrillers and horrors, and they're not like great books, but they're so entertaining. I gave it 3 stars. For not being a great book, it still beat out like a full-length novel that I really didn't like. This was fun. It's basically following a group of kids after their prom night, and they rent out a house that they mysteriously don't really know where like they got it from, and some misfortunes occur and some people wind up dead, and you're trying to figure out what is actually going on. Like, who is doing this? Is it someone they know? Is it someone they don't know? Like, what's going on? It's just fun. It was perfect for, I think I read it for Stabathon. It was a perfect read for that. Super short. Had a great time reading this during Halloween. The next book I read was actually a huge surprise. It was a huge surprise. I picked it up on a whim because it was one of the Barnes & Noble like choices, and it's called The Sacrifice by Rin Chupico. And I was shocked how much I actually really liked this book. It is following a film crew who comes to a cursed island, and they're basically going to be making a show like Oak Island, but instead of like treasure, well actually they are kind of looking for treasure, but they're more focused on the curse. And we are following the local who lives there, the only person who goes onto the cursed island, who's trying to protect them but also warn them off at the same time, and there's like a cute romance kind of that happens in it. So this was such a good book. I gave this 3.5, which is like low-ish. It got lower points because I didn't love the ending, but I thought it was a really good book. And again, another really good like Halloween read. Even though it had island vibes, it was still very creepy. There were definitely some points in this that I was like, oh, that's like legitimately really creepy. The next book that I read, as I say, you can see it, was the graphic novel, the volume 3 of Lore Olympus. I am a huge fan of this series. This is a reread for me. I'm not gonna really say anything other than that, except for content warnings. If you want to pick up this graphic novel, there is sexual assault themes in this, so be very wary if you have issues with that specifically. This might be a really, really difficult read. It's difficult anyway, and if you really have issues with it, this might be a little too much for you. But I love this book. It's Persephone and Hades retelling. They're just beautiful. They're beautiful. I've been reading them on webtoons, so technically this is a reread for me, but it's still got 5 stars. I love it. I can't wait for the next one to come out. The next book that I read was also a big surprise, and I'm really glad that I picked it up when I did, and it is The Book Eaters by Soon Yi Dean. So good. So good. This got a 4 stars, and only reason it didn't get 5 is because like I didn't love the ending, and I'm hoping for a second one. I still haven't seen like any announcement about a second one, which makes me really sad, but I really hope there's a second one. But this is the Illumicrate edition, if you couldn't tell. It's a little fancy, and it is absolutely stunning. I really like this. I have a full book review out for this as well, so go check that out. But this is following our main character, Devin Fairweather, who is what they call a book eater. So in this world, there are normal people and then 6 families. I think it's 6. Anyway, there's like a bunch of families, and they're all filled with book eaters, and the book eaters are people who do not eat human food. They eat books as sustenance, and they can't write, which is really neat aspect of the like magic system in this. But the problem with the book eaters is that there is a separate faction from them. I think they're called the Mind Eaters. It's been a while since I read this, and unfortunately they don't eat books. They actually eat other people's like minds, and that's how they get their sustenance and their like information, like what people get from books. So yeah, this book is following Devin, and unfortunately her son turns out to be a mind eater. So you follow her story and her trying to protect her son and all the nuances that comes with being a book eater and a mind eater and what they need to do to survive. And it's just really, really good, and it's very intense. It's very dark and difficult at some points to read, but it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, I would recommend this. Be careful though, there is some like child abuse kind of things going on. So you may have some issues and difficulties with that. But otherwise, it's a really, really good book. The next book that I read this month, unfortunately, is The Family Game. I also have a full review / rant out for this. And yeah, I tabbed this one. I'm going to rip the tabs out because I am getting rid of this book as soon as I possibly can. And it was a 1 star. I really, really hated this book. And I feel like part of it is because I went into this expecting something completely different, because I kept seeing people saying, this is like Ready or Not. This is like Ready or Not. It is not. The last 30 pages maybe, but the rest of the book is not. So I'm going to stop talking there because I'm just going to like get into it and be really mad. But this is following our main character who is about to marry into a rich family, and she starts playing a psychological game with her fiance's dad, so her future father-in-law. And it's just about their family and stuff going on, and it's just so boring, and I hated it. But I'm like alone on this. Everyone seems to love this book, so give it a try if you want to, but for me it was a 1 star. The next book that I read, and pretty recently, I read 2 books like pretty fast back to back, is The Kiss Curse. I really love this book. This was a 5 star for me. I love this one. I liked it even better than the first one. Yeah. So this is following the sister of the girl from the first one, and she is also going to basically fall in love with one of the Penhallows, which is one of the founding family of the town that they live in. So it's small town, takes place during Halloween, and it's just super romantic, pining, cute, and Halloween vibes. This was the perfect book to read close to Halloween, and I've been chasing the vibes of this book ever since I read it because I loved it so much. So yeah, 5 stars. Absolutely love this one. And the last book that I finished this month is Love on the Brain. I have recorded a video for this. I have not put it out yet because there is some like controversial stuff that I talk about in that has to do with STEM and her portrayal of women and men in STEM. And it's difficult to talk about, so I'm like holding on to that video like, do I really want to post it? Because I feel like I'm gonna get some like backlash from some people about how I feel about it, but I feel like it's gotta be said, so I'm gonna release it. I just don't know when. I don't know when I'm gonna get up the courage to do it. But this was a 4 star. Like, I still really, really enjoyed it. I didn't love it nearly as much as The Love Hypothesis. I did love the main character, Levi. He's exactly the same as The Love Hypothesis main lead male character. I love both of them, so I can't even be mad that they're the same. They're great. And I really like the romance in it. There were just some points that really irked me, and I will be talking about that in that video. So hopefully, I don't know if that's coming out first or this is coming out first. So I don't know. Probably this. I don't know. I'm so torn on like what to do about that. Wrap up for October. I feel like I read a decent amount of books. Like I said, the manga and the graphic novel being 5 stars, definitely great, but I also read some really good 4 stars. So I'm really excited about that. Unfortunately, I'm reading my first book that's going to count for November, and it is awful. So I'm like, oh gosh, why do I always start the months off rough? Like, October started off great. The manga was great. But I swear every other month, there's constantly squirrels running back and forth. So if I ever look this way, it's because there's squirrels running around in the yard. I feel like I always start the month off bad. And then I'm like, crap, I need to like make up for it. And then I feel stressed because I don't want to like just read bad books in a month. But it's not great, unfortunately. And I'm probably not going to do a review for it either, just because I don't want to talk about it. It's too hard to talk about. So it'll be in my wrap up, but yikes, not a good book. But there were some pretty great books in here. That's all I got for you for my wrap up. That was October. Not a ton of spooky books. I went more for like, I started with some thrillers and then I kind of got some spooky, and then I tried a thriller, and then I went romance. Apparently I should have just read like Halloween romance throughout the month, because that's how I felt the most Halloween-y all month. So that's all I got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about these books. Be careful about spoilers. Make sure to go check out the reviews for some of these. And yeah, that's about all that I got. And I want to hear what you guys think about the books, and what should I read in November. I'm up in the air. I haven't decided TBR yet, and it's November 1st, so I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, that's all I got, and I will see you guys in the next video.